What is it? Why would you do this? Nobody's attacking. We just want
Under the advice of counsel, I'm not going to answer that question, sir.
Asserting any privilege.
Privilege against self-incrimination.
And did you knowingly break any laws when investigating President Trump?
Objection.
Same response.
Did you break any laws when you worked at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office?
Objection.
Same response.
Ms. Pomerantz, did you violate any person's constitutional rights when you worked on the Trump investigation?
Objection.
I have the same response to your question.
Mr. Pomerantz, did you
so.
violate any person's constitutional rights while you worked at the Manhattan DA's office?
Objection.
Same answer.
Did you misuse any federal funds while investigating President Trump?
Same response.
Did you misuse any federal funds while you were working in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office?
Same response.
And did you violate any New York State bar rules while you were investigating President Trump?
General,
Same response.
okay, thank you. Right there, you're seeing two sides of the same coin. A Marxist, Sharia supremacist revolt throughout this country, and you're seeing the Marxists that run the legal system in the country. That's Pomerantz being grilled in a sworn deposition by Matt Gaetz, where he's taking the Fifth Amendment on direct questions about did he break the law and did he use criminal means to investigate President Donald J. Trump. One of the greatest intelligence officers ever produced by this country, General Mike Flynn, joins us. General Flynn, your thoughts on this Marxist kind of revolt we're facing, both in the courtroom and on the streets. You're an expert in irregular warfare, unrestricted warfare. Your thoughts about this, sir?
Yeah. So first of all, Steve, thanks for having me on. Here's where our country is at, and I always think about if I were on their team, what would I be advising? And what would I be advising the opposition right now? I would be advising them to increase these assaults on our college campuses and frankly start going to the streets of our cities. And I think we're going to see that as the summertime approaches, as the warm weather approaches. A lot of these colleges right now are revolting, and there's a lot of paid activists inside. They're same people that we saw in the I call it the summer of love of summer of 2020. Activists from Antifa who were paid activists. So we're going to see more of this. And what I would be telling these people is that we need to continue to do this, right? The other side is that there's no way in the world that we want Donald J. Trump to be the president of the United States again. There's no way in the world that we want people like General Mike Flynn back in the government. No way. And they've done everything that they can possibly do. Steve, a little breaking news here on your show. I received 8 subpoenas last night. Okay. So these people are going to do everything that they can, these Marxists, this communist takeover of the United States of America. And I say that what I say in the movie that I have out right now is the coup. The coup of this country began on the 5th of January of 2017 in the Oval Office behind the Resolute desk where Barack Obama was sitting there. Barack H. Obama was sitting there with Biden and his other cohorts. And these people at that time said, we have got to get rid of this man. And that particular discussion was about General Mike Flynn in order to get Trump out of office. And then they have continued to do this. And we are in the throes of a Marxist takeover of the United States of America. Folks, you know, if I were, again, I put my feet into the boots of many of our enemies over the many years that I've served in the military, because that was my role, was to think like our enemy was going to think, and what are the kind of actions that they could take. And I'm telling you, there's no way in the world that they want Donald J. Trump. I mean, look at what they're doing with whatever he's got, 91 felonies, 720 years. You know, this jury that he's up against right now in New York. My belief, if they don't come back with a guilty verdict, I'll be surprised, and I'll eat a little bit of crow here, but I just don't see it. I think that they're going to come back with a guilty verdict, and we're going to find out that here very soon. If they do, this judge is going to put him in jail, just like they got Peter Navarro in jail pending an appeal, right? And this is a very, very serious time. And I was with a group of people. I'm up in Milwaukee right now, sitting in the RV that we're traveling around the country, and I'm up in Milwaukee, and I use the phrase, we are at grave risk here in the United States of America. And grave, there's no stronger word than grave to use when you're talking about the potential, you know, loss of our country, the loss of our republic. And you mentioned up in the previous broadcast there, you're talking with Marie, yeah. I think it's Marie Macy, and you're talking about Matt Boyle and the great, incredible reporting that he's got. And there's some others out there that are breaking news. I mean, this latest thing
General.
Yeah.
General,
yeah.
Hang on 1 second. We're taking a short commercial break.
Considered highly skilled when it comes to intelligence gathering.
33 years in the U.S. Army.
Flynn knew exactly how the system worked. He knew exactly what the intel world had been up to. He understood its funding. They had to get rid of Flynn.
President's former national security advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, pleading guilty today to lying to the FBI.
There was a moment where I just felt like I was drowning.
ISIS as the JV team. Do you feel as though your warnings were ignored?
We all knew that he was one of the most respected generals in the military, plain and simple.
Well, in 2012, he was appointed director of Defense Intelligence Agency. He ordered the first audit of the use of DIA's use of contractors. This set off alarm bells.
So I'm in there with these other political appointees. They're all supposed to go in there and tell what they believe to be the truth. What they did was they took my assessment and they wanted me to change it. And I was like, I'm not changing it.
Mike Flynn, whatever you think of him or his politics, did not lie, but instead told the truth. And so he was, by definition, the most dangerous possible person for Donald Trump to hire.
President Obama said, but I do have one specific recommendation. Stay away from Michael Flynn. He's bad news.
I went into the service because I love our country. And I come home and I find out that the worst enemy that I'm going to face in my life is right here in America.
Even had he not served his country, even if he were not a combat veteran, to turn something like this loose on a family, I mean, it's monstrous.
The media was out there in droves.
I went into a very deep depression, like suicidal depression. The only thing that kept me alive was my son.
We always knew that we somehow had to get through it because we knew he wasn't guilty.
Over time, instead of being pounded down below the surface of the ocean, we started to fight I'm now above the surface. But I can see the shoreline. And I started to swim.
An incredible and powerful film out now about General Mike Flynn. I want to tell a story here. And by the way, I can't recommend more highly for people to watch this film. And particularly, I think it'd be great for the War and Posse to get together in living rooms, watch it together, because this is quite a powerful film about a great patriot and great American. So we win, Mike, as you remember, General, we win early morning hours of the 9th. The election's on the 8th. Win the early morning hours of the 9th. The Associated Press calls it. Hillary concedes. Then we get the transition. We're throwing it together. I believe it's on the afternoon of the 9th that we announced President Trump's first pick is going to be his National Security Advisor, General Mike Flynn. I think the next day, Jared and General Flynn accompany President-elect Trump down to Washington to go meet with Obama. Reince and I are standing up the transition. And so they come down, they spend the entire day, much longer than we thought, and General Flynn and Jared have meetings with the national security advisors and the chief of staff, and President Trump stays with Obama, and the meeting goes longer. And so he gets back that night, and he tells me, he says, because I'm always, take down the CCP, and he says, look, Steve, I got a thing. He says, Obama tells me what we got to really worry about is North Korea. That I said, no, that's a vassal state. That's ridiculous. He says, no, North Korea. He says, North Korea is going to be the complete focus. Everything. I said, that's ridiculous. Was there any other thing? He says, yeah, he just had one other thing. Number one, North Korea. That's all you got to worry about. Now think about that for a second. And then he said, whatever you do, I just heard you now, so don't keep Mike Flynn. You got to get rid of Mike Flynn. And so Trump said, what do you think? I go, hey, it was a great pick, and they're obviously going to be coming for this guy. But what was it of everything that had to go on? No, tell the audience, because you had a history. Yeah. You had been, you've been. I think McChrystal's. You had taken intelligence and really Army intelligence, and you put it on offense, right? And just not information collecting. They knew you were action oriented, and then in DIA the same thing. You saw the system and you tried to change the system. But I said, man, to target a guy who's a former Army general and basically tell him that don't hire this guy, and essentially imply if you hire him, we're going to come after him. What drove that?
Yeah, a couple of things, and I talk about this specifically in the movie. That specific conversation between Trump and Obama, and I also discuss a little bit of my military history. Obama chose me twice for two critical positions in the United States government. One is the assistant director of national intelligence, and then the second was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, right? I mean, so those are appointments by Barack Obama, and I talk about those, and I describe how that takes place, and one of the things, Tucker is in this movie, Tucker Carlson's in this film, and Tucker talks in the film, and I'll tease a little bit here about how you have to bring your enemies closer, right? You got to bring your enemies closer, because I was always somebody who challenged the big intel community, and I did, and that story is told in this movie very, very well. It's a very powerful story. But what I want to do is I want to jump from that conversation between Trump and Obama back to what I said earlier about this meeting on the 5th of January of 2017. So, you fast forward about 2 months, right? Just a little slightly less than 2 months, and Crossfire Hurricane, which was to target a group of us that we did not know at the time. We did not know, we suspected that they were spying and all that, but we really didn't know. Crossfire Hurricane and the investigation that they had on me was closed. They found nothing. I was squeaky clean. But on the 5th of January, in the Oval Office, Obama, Biden, Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Yates, Susan Rice were all in that meeting. And that's when they made the decision. And in fact, we have good, strong, clear evidence. People can go look it up. It's online. Agent Barnett, who was the lead agent for the Crossfire Hurricane, gave testimony in September of 2020. It took him that many years because I think he felt guilty. And he basically said in that session, and the whole effort was get Flynn to get Trump. And they knew because of what I had already done and the kinds of things that I had done in DIA, the kinds of efforts that I was taking on at the Defense Intelligence Agency that we talk about in this film, that they had to get me out of there. There's no way in the world that if I stayed there, that we would have even had a Mueller investigation. Now, I will tell you, Steve, and I ain't patting myself on the back here, but had I been able to stay in that position, there would have been no Mueller investigation. And everybody knows that's on the listens to the War Room and the War Room posse out there knows the Mueller investigation screwed this country and tried to screw a sitting duly elected president of the United States of America. And we know now that nothing came of it, nothing, absolutely zero. Well, that investigation would never have happened had Mike Flynn stayed as the National Security Advisor in the White House. And they knew, Obama knew, Clapper knew, Brennan knew. They all knew the type of person that I was because I had worked for them. One of the jokes that I talk about is right before I left the Defense Intelligence Agency, I got invited over to the FBI headquarters to have Comey presented me their highest award that they give to anybody. It's called the Director's Medal. He pins it on me, right? A year later, these bastards have me under investigation. I mean, you can't make this up. You can't make up the conversation between the outgoing president of the United States and the incoming president. And I describe this in spades in detail in this film. And the film is still #1 after 5 weeks on Amazon DVDs. And I think we're #1 right now on streaming, at least on Amazon. I know Salem and other things. People can go to flynnmovie.com to the website. It's a powerful movie. I'm doing a 35-city nationwide tour. I'm up in Milwaukee in the bastion of the establishment right here in Milwaukee. We had a group last night, a couple hundred people. It was wonderful. And we are taking on this threat that we are up against. And this threat that we're up against, and it started on the 5th of January. The investigations and everything started prior. These sneaky bastards started prior, but the coup began on 5 January, yep. And we have hard evidence of it. It came out in my case. And go ahead, Steve. You got me on a roll.
Let me ask. This movie's incredible. Yeah, no. By the way, if I can keep you to a short commercial break, just got a couple other things, but hang in for a second. We got a minute on this side. Everybody's got to go get this film. As you saw, the railhead of the coup was 5 January 17 in the Oval Office. Give me a minute on the arc of how we got here today.
Yeah. So what happened was they had to get rid of me, and then I believe, and we talk a little bit about this with some of the people inside the White House, and some of that you have a cameo appearance on there. That I believe that the establishment was really trying to get rid of Trump in cahoots with people that were part of the sort of the deep state, if you will, right, in Washington, D.C. They really wanted to get Trump out of there within the first 90 days. I mean, remember the 25th Amendment bullshit. Excuse my Irish. But then 100%. what they hey, Trump is a guy like
Mike. Go ahead. Mike, just hang on for a second. I want to develop this. Okay, FlynnMovie.com, promo code War Room. Go there now. This is a blockbuster. You're gonna get the whole history of that set the predicate of how we got here today. General Flynn's going to hang on with us for a few more minutes. He's given a 35-city tour to promote this film. The reviews have been tremendous on it. FlynnMovie.com/War Room. Go there today. This film will leave you rattled but inspired. General Flynn got 8 subpoenas overnight, I think primarily because of his work with election integrity. Remember, he's been a fighter about the stolen election of 2020 from the very first moment. Obama tried to get you out of the administration. Then they came after you. They targeted you. Now we have a revolution in the streets. You've seen how the security apparatus, how arrogant it is. Andrew Giuliani is going to walk out of a courtroom in a second and give us an update on the show trials. We've got a vast criminal conspiracy. One of the reasons I'm saying Johnson's got to be removed. This conspiracy has been out there. Now they're starting to move on it because we're putting pressure on them. But you've had great people like Jim Jordan and Lee Stefanik. They've been suppressed by the establishment on the Hill from going forward to it. General Flynn, once again, how did we get to this spot? Given the railhead of this was Obama in this crowd in the Oval Office with Biden saying we got to get Flynn, but we're going to do, in getting Flynn, we're going to take these guys down. How did we end up here today, sir?
Yeah, well, the first reason we ended up here today is because Donald J. Trump decided to run for president of the United States, and he beat the heir apparent to the communist regime, and that was Hillary Clinton. That's number one. And don't forget any of your war room posse. Don't forget that. And once that happened, their plans to take this country over were shattered. And right now, the American people, this populist movement in our country is sick and tired of it. They went after Trump so hard. They went after me. Then they go after Trump. And I hope I didn't lose you, Steve. You still there? God dang it.
Yeah, we're here, General.
Steve,
Keep
you
going.
still there?
Keep rolling.
Okay.
We're here,
yeah,
sir.
Then they went. So then they go after me. Then they go after Trump, and they continue to go after Trump. They couldn't get him while he was the president of the United States. And then they went after him, and they're going after him now. One of the things that I talk about in the movie, Steve, one of the things I talk about in the movie are assassinations. Okay, and I take the audience back to the 1960s and the assassinations of the 1960s. And what our government was capable of doing then was basically assassinating a duly elected president in JFK, and of course RFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and I talk about how we need to at least reassess the assassinations of the 60s to figure out and learn from that what these people are capable of doing right now. And what they're doing is they are narratively assassinating Donald Trump. They narratively assassinated Mike Flynn. They are destroying every modicum, they're trying to destroy our businesses, our families, everything about us to make the American people feel like these people are a danger to democracy. That is total bullshit. They are projecting what they are doing to us. Okay, they have their cronies in the media. They have their cronies in Hollywood, and this is a takeover of the United States of America. There's no other way that I can say that. This is not Republicans versus Democrats. Hell, the Republicans in guys like Speaker Mike Johnson, who's a feckless leader, needs to be tossed. We need bold, courageous leaders right now running our government, and I hope that we have an election in November. I'm not certain that we're going to have an election in November.
General Flynn, hang on a second. Are you concerned, as a guy that spent your career in intelligence and defense intelligence, are you concerned that there could possibly be an assassination attempt on President Trump?
I would say, and this is speculation, but again, if I were on their team, I would not want Donald Trump to be back in the White House. No way in the world. And so they're going to go through a whole range of scenarios. When I say these communist Marxists are going to go through a whole range of scenarios to try to get him out of there. Look at what they're doing to him through this lawfare. There's nothing fair about this. There's two completely different standards of justice in our system of government right now. So they're going after him to try to destroy him and try to put him in jail. And you know this, Steve. I mean, they're trying to do this, and Andrew will I'm sure will give you a good update. They're trying to do that. If they convict him and he's a convicted felon, they're going to throw him in jail. They're going to take away the Secret Service. God knows what will happen, right? But I have got to believe that they have contemplated every single aspect of trying to keep Trump from becoming the president of the United States again. I mean, they already did it in 2020 in the election. I'm not an election denier. What I deny is that we have fair elections. That we do not have fair elections. Everybody knows it in the country. Christ, the various polling for Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, nobody believes that or the majority don't believe that Biden, is building back better America, right? Give me a break. So this is a really, really important and a very serious time. I love to joke, Steve. You and I have had a lot of Irish fun together, but this is a very serious time in America. And if people don't get involved in this country like they have, go ahead, Steve.
You talk about assassinations. When President Kennedy authorized the basically removal coup against President Diem, he authorized a coup, not an assassination. The intelligence services sat there and assassinated him 30 days before him. That's when he understood that the intelligence services were out of control and trying to run the deal. All the observations on Kennedy is that all the blood ran out of him when they told him Dim and his family had been murdered, had been gunned down by the CIA in the back of a panel van heading to the plane, which he had been told was going to take him to safety. He approved the overthrow of the government by the military. He never approved assassination. The intelligence services did it. Are the intelligence services, do you think, more out of control today than they were before we had the Church Commission, sir?
completely out of control. Completely out of control. They screwed Kennedy, both of them, John and Robert, and there's plenty of evidence to show that. And other people, especially in the '60s, they have screwed Trump because. And actually, I touch on this in the movie, even like the Vietnam War, the beginning of the Vietnam War, how we got into the Vietnam War, how we got into the war in Iraq. Okay, specifically point to a presentation by Colin Powell, how we got into the war in Iraq, and this idea of endless wars. Yeah, and people. I mean, I've only paid a little or listened a little bit to this latest O'Keefe breaking news. I think is very powerful. What I've seen. I mean, the CIA is so out of control. They were supposed to be, and even Truman said this later on in an article, an op-ed that Truman, Harry Truman, the president, wrote. I think it was like in late 50s or early 60s. He wrote an article about how the CIA, and he's the one that kind of created it from the OSS to the CIA. He says, that it really was supposed to just be an intelligence agency. And what it's turned into is, I call it a covert operations agency. And they know these people, you got people watching this right now. I know that there's people monitoring me constantly. So, but I don't give a at this point. We're in a difficult time, and we have got to do this lawfully. We've got to do this through our own level of activism. I go back to your first piece there with the Marie Macy, who I don't know. I mean, these are the type of people that we need to be stepping up into the politics at the local level, and we need to take this country back. Yeah. We need to take this country back, county by county, district by district, and Trump we need to get Trump back in the White House. We cannot have what we have right now, which is a complete takeover by a Marxist communist regime.
Last question, I got to bounce, but if President Trump asked you to run as his vice president, would you accept, sir?
I talk about this in the movie, Steve, and it's a hard question to say no to. So, I mean, yeah, would I seriously consider it? At this point in time, given everything that's going on in this country, I absolutely would.
The movie is flynnmovie.com/war room. Go get it today. Get a group of people, watch it over the weekend. General Flynn, looking forward to having you back. We'll find out. We'll call you back later and find out about these 8 subpoenas. We'd love to have you on here to talk about that, because
absolutely.
They're coming after you as hard as they're coming after. They're coming after you as hard as they're coming after almost President Trump. You're probably number 2 in the lineup. General Flynn, thank you so much. Appreciate it. flynnmovie.com/war room. God bless you, sir. That's a patriot.